Hi, I'm Don Bowman with Agilicus, where we believe any user should be able to use any application from any device on any network without a VPN and without a client. So today, let's talk about a method to achieve that and some of the myths that are out there. So the things in blue on this page, I love my corporate VPN. No one's ever said that. I want to work where I am. Well, everybody says that. I want to use the device of my choice. How many times have you heard that? Of course. But these things in red, these are the myths that are preventing us from doing something better. Myth 1, the VPN is the only way to get remote access. Yeah, because I heard someone on Reddit say that once. To reach into the organization, I need to open up the firewall. We hired a consultant once and they said that was the only way. Client software is necessary, said someone who was selling it to you. I'm here to say that the things in red, you don't have to accept. So, how do we achieve that goal? Well, first let's talk about where we're at today. So the old VPN world, the VPN has been with us for a long time. Back in the days of dial-up, you would log into something over a phone line. Later, over an intranet, starting around 1998 or so, Microsoft introduced PPTP. And the way that works is you run some VPN client on your device, usually your corporate-issued laptop. And it was viewed as an idea of you worked from one additional location. 99% of the time you had a desk, and 1% of the time you worked from home or from a hotel. And what you would do is you would open up your device and you would dial into the corporate network. And it's just like having a really long Ethernet cable. You're connected to the corporate network, and that becomes your internet connection. And you see the line in the green from the top worker. Well, they have access to something that they should, System 1. We also see Worker 2 has access maybe to something that they shouldn't. So System 3, because we're in the building, we're not authorizing a single application, we're authorizing getting into the building. But another and more pressing challenge that we have as video conferencing has become the norm instead of the rarity is that there's this non-desired flow. All the traffic flows from my device to my corporate internet and then back out again. And that means that if I'm conferencing someone on Microsoft Teams or Google Meet, my corporate network becomes my bottleneck. Even though I'm at home and I've got a high bandwidth connection and the rest of my team do, we all send our traffic into the company and then back out again. The more people work remote, the less well it works. People are very upset. So what's the VPN really achieved for us? It's made it harder for people to work than if they're in the office. It's reduced the performance, and it's got some security flaws. So it's imperfect. It's what we do because we don't know that there's another way. So there is another way, and it's called the zero trust world. So in a zero trust model, what we do is we get rid of the concept of the corporate firewall as a type of sort of VPN and perimeter. And instead of saying I connect to the company and therefore it's as if I'm inside the company, you say, well, what do I need to expose to the world? And to who do I need to expose it? And then you authorize those pairs. So identify the worker, and authorize, are they allowed to access this thing? And then give them access to that and only that. And you can see on this page, there's no yellow. There is no security risk flow. Worker 1 only has access to System 1. That worker doesn't have access to System 2 and System 3 because they don't need it. So the VPN, we just connected them into the building and said, try to only talk to the stuff you need. In the Zero Trust world, we say, this is what you need. Here's your access. And the second and really nice side effect is we don't have this non-desired flow of having all the traffic flow into the company and then back out to the internet. Our video conferencing is now highly scalable. It goes directly point to point between the team rather than into company. So we've talked about a couple of those myths, but what about that third one, that the only way to allow remote access is to open up an inbound connection through the firewall? Well, there's lots of different ways you could deploy your applications. There's a zero trust model for everybody. Today I'm going to talk about one which is outbound only. No change to your firewall. Nothing's exposed on the internet. Some people would also use a point-to-point VPN. Other people would move their application into the cloud, move it into SaaS and host it. But today we'll talk about that outbound-only connection. So how does that work? So here's the architecture of our system at Agillicus. And in this particular model, the user, who is on an arbitrary network with an arbitrary device with no client, they just open up their browser, just like they do all the stuff in their personal life, Gmail, Netflix, etc. And they see all the applications as independent websites. They go to the website of their application. They're challenged to provide their identity. We do that using a federated identity system called OpenID Connect, which in turn comes to what's called an upstream identity provider, usually your Office 365, Active Directory, could be anything, but it can also be other companies you do business with, that you're affiliated with, or even their social credentials like their Google or Apple login. They continue on, they go through an application-aware web application firewall, and what that does is police not only are they allowed to talk to this application, but what are they allowed to do? So if this user is only got read-only privilege, a viewer, and they try to write some record, we'll know that the application, it might have blocked it internally, but this is a way of, giving a second sober thought. But the real magic occurs on the right-hand side in your site. So you'll note that there is no arrow that points in towards that firewall. We haven't opened a port in the firewall with some sort of DMZ-based rule. We haven't put a VPN on it. We haven't, moved something outside the firewall. That same old application that you've always had is deployed the same old way it always was. And what we've done is we've deployed an on-site agent, the Agillicus Agent Connector. It creates an outbound connection through your firewall into our cloud, where the inbound connection of your user is going to meet it after going through the identity confirmation and the security layers and the firewall. And the neat thing about this is you could be deployed tomorrow with no network architecture change, exposing a single resource to a single pool of users. You wouldn't have a single network packet arrive at that application except for authenticated users who you trust, who are authorized to use it. That's not what you achieve if you put it into a DMZ type network. That's just layer 3. Everything gets forwarded to it. The hacker, your user, anyone. This achieves a much tighter goal. 100% of the traffic is for the people we want, doing the things we want. 0% of the traffic is for things that we're worried about. This application is as safe as it can be. It's in fact safer than your VPN model, because in the VPN model, somebody could be using service 2, which you didn't want them to, just because you've just exposed it in there. So I'd like you to think about this. If we go back to those upfront assumptions, who disagrees with, I want to work where I am? I want to work on the device I am. Who says they love their corporate VPN? No one. So we understand the problem domain. What's stopping us from making it better? It's just the belief that the VPN is the solution, the gold standard. It's not. It's the belief that client software is somehow necessary. It's not. It's the belief that the firewall needs to be involved in the inbound data path for security for some reason. It doesn't have to be. You can have a higher degree of security for a lower cost that's more simple to use. Simple security that works well is better than anything else out there. Your users are happier. They're working where they want to be on the device they want to. You're happier. Your security's higher. Your auditability's higher. Everybody wins. So if you want to know more, just feel free to reach out to me, don@agillicus.com, or comment, like, subscribe, and there'll be more content like this in the future. Thanks very much, and bye-bye.